Since I was a little kid, I've always had this fascination with California. California is this mecca, not just for motorsports people, but for people who enjoy awesome outdoor activities. Anything awesome happens in California, so I've always wanted to go. I've always wanted to take in more than just one location. I've wanted to experience all that California had to offer. The opportunity arose. Vern threw the idea out there. What if we did a California adventure, try a whole bunch of stuff? And I said, let's get her done, man.
We all looked at California because it was probably the one area that offered every opportunity to ride, whether it was from riding the beaches by the sea or riding the difficult terrain up in the mountains. We could pretty much go from sea to sky and ride everything we ever wanted. And so that's pretty much why we decided California was going to be our next adventure. Leading into the trip, we wanted to take in a motocross race, and Yamaha had mentioned that by chance, Dustin Nelson, their factory racer, was going to be racing an ITP quad cross. So we thought, you know what, perfect opportunity. Why don't we head to Glen Helen and check out the racing action?
Glen Helen is this huge outdoor national motocross track.
Glen Helen pretty much represents the ultimate motocross track by pretty much everyone's standards. It has the gnarliest terrain, the steepest hills, and it's pretty much known as the roughest track on the circuit.
My name is Dustin Nelson. I'm a Yamaha factory ATV racer. I grew up in San Diego area, which is huge for off-road enthusiasts, and started racing motocross when I was 6 years old. Worked my way through the amateur ranks, won a couple national championships as an amateur. Raced professionally on motorcycles for about 9 years. During that time, I became a test rider for Yamaha on motorcycles, and through that, I was invited to test the original YFZ 450 in prototype stage. That really turned me on to the riding a quad on a motocross track, and my skills developed, and when the bike came out in production, the Yamaha testing guys talked me into going to a quad race and seeing how I do. It went well enough to, you know, a year and a half or so later, I switched my direction to racing ATVs full time. Yamaha's played, they've had everything to do with my success in ATV racing. The longer I've gone, the more they've stepped up my support, and the more they've helped grow my image as an ATV racer as well. Just growing your image can help so much with getting the support you need from other sponsors, and that's something that Yamaha's, in that aspect, they've done everything that they can for me. As far as the testing division, you know, that's something that I really cherish. I really enjoy being a part of the development process and taking a bike from pre-production or prototype stage and just building it into the best it can possibly be when it hits production. I think that the manufacturers like Yamaha, being here in Southern California, they put a lot of effort into keeping the off-road industry going and the off-road areas open in California because it's in their backyard. My dad's been involved with my racing since I was a kid. When I turned professional, he was my mechanic on a motorcycle for a while. And in the last 2 years, he's came back, got the racing bug again, and I gotta tell you, there's nothing better. You know, like, he's an incredible mechanic, and the extra care that you get with your dad being involved is never a bad thing. When I found out where Dirt Tracks was headed after we spent a day out at Glen Helen, you know, the guys seemed like a good time, and Rubicon sounded fun. I've never been up there, and I've been to Pismo before, but I figured another time might be interesting. So, you know, I was all about jumping on board and trying a new road trip.
So coming from Southern California, going up north about 12 hours to Lake Tahoe, it's a completely different scene.
It's just kind of a laid-back, cottagey type vacation area is what you get the impression of, and I prefer that kind of feel to anywhere else. That's more like home to me, and I felt really at home when I was in Tahoe.
When we were thinking about what trails to ride, first thing that came into mind obviously was one of the most legendary off-road trails in the world, the Rubicon Trail. One part of a trailhead is situated right in Lake Tahoe. So when we were coming to California, we were trying to figure out what we're going to use to ride around. First thing that came to our mind was Yamaha. They're situated right here in Southern California. They pretty much offer every vehicle that we'd want to ride and that we would need for the terrain that we're going to be riding.
Yamaha can supply us with the perfect vehicle, so this one was easy. When it came time to find out what we were going to ride, one phone call is all it took, and we had everything we needed lined up.
The Rubicon, when you start reading about it, it's only about 22 miles in distance, relatively short in length. But the one thing that we all knew is that it's more measured in perseverance.
Anybody who's anybody has heard the name Rubicon, and the reason you've heard it is because the Rubicon Trail is legendary throughout not just North America, but the entire world. This is an absolute 4x4 guy's mecca.
This was going to be my first time to the Rubicon, so I was really looking forward to it. We were all excited, you know. Rubicon is legendary for having some of the just gnarliest terrain.
I've known about the Rubicon Trail my entire life. I had this expectation, and it's from traveling a lot around the country to different riding areas. And when you talk to people about where you're headed, they always say their trails are the roughest, gnarliest trails. That's what we were told about Rubicon. So immediately I said, you know what? Everybody says that. It's probably not going to be that rough. Man, was I wrong. There's basically 3 landmarks that you really need to experience. The first one is Cadillac Hill. It's very technical, it's very slow, but at the same time, it'll scare your pants right off. The second one, you have to make it through Cadillac Hill to get to, and it's called the Rubicon Springs. This is like a little paradise in the middle of the wilderness. It's like this little river flowing down through these rocks into this opening space with a pool and waterfalls, a rope swing. You can camp there, you can have a picnic there. Just a little past the springs is this area called Big Sluice, and this is where Rubicon gets out of control. This is where Rubicon becomes legendary. I never in my wildest dreams would have looked at this trail and said, yeah, we can do this, we'll go up this.
Big Sluice was an area that was pretty much dominated with these massive boulders.
There was just these monster rocks that you had to climb up and get through, and it was the most technical section of the day. And I just enjoy that super technical riding, you know, stuff that you don't think everybody can get through. I love that stuff. Actually made us put the Grizzlies in diff lock 4-wheel drive for a little bit.
Our Yamaha Grizzlies blew my mind time after time. Every section we crawled up to, diff lock 4x4 low range, man. You just crawled right over, no problems, no broken parts.
What we really experienced was probably the most difficult terrain that you could probably tackle on an ATV.
just from a rider standpoint, the pure craziness of the trail, I couldn't believe it. Like, there was sections of the trail that were the only way to get through, and it was just gnarly terrain. Usually there's a nice easy way here, and if you go looking for some gnarly stuff, you can find something. My experience at the Rubicon was that the gnarliest stuff I've ever found on these other trails off to the side, that's the main trail. That's what you have to ride through, and it was pretty cool.
I was really impressed by the end of the day with how well the rhinos in particular made it through the Rubicon with our camera guys in it, but also the Grizzlies. We had 3 of them with us and we didn't have one issue. That's saying a lot. Anywhere we needed to go, those bikes took us, and they did it without complaining, without any issues, no overheating, no problems. I'm proud to say I've ridden the gnarliest sections of the Rubicon. I made it in, I made it out.
The thing about off-road riding that has me coming back all the time is, you know, just the fact that you can go to the same place 2 days in a row and it's going to be different every time you go. And there's always new challenges, you know, little technical things you can try and do, different things on the bike and find different terrain. So just the ongoing, you know, that it's a new challenge every time, that's what keeps me coming back.
If you've enjoyed watching this Dirt Tracks TV segment, we encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you'll never miss another update.